Hi, let's not waste too much time. Here's the honorable mentions in no particular order, and here's the best albums of 2025. Throughout Mika Vaineo's career before his death in 2017, he was interested in the micro details of electronic music rather than its macro. It wasn't about the walls of intricate synths nor the skittering drum patterns, it was the sounds in between, the ones which lingered after a particularly brutal breakbeat or a beautiful electronic arrangement. In this posthumous record, Vaineo's collaborators brings together an album he had been working on for 3 years before his death, and it's his most intricate. Each song blossoms quietly, revealing layers of dark, atmospheric sonic textures. It's as if he's showing off what the concept of sound is truly made of. Listening to 45 Pounds is like being caught in the most intense monsoon of your life, one which feels like biblical amounts of rain is pouring down on you. Synths and guitars which straddles between the sounds of punk, early electronica, and industrial. Vocals which sound like it's screeching in agony while spitting dark poems, and drums which absolutely steal the show. It's a record which comes in, blows you away, and goes away just as quickly as it came in. But the 21 minutes it lasts will feel like the longest, most intense 21 minutes you will ever experience. Outside of Catholic theology, most don't know Hildegard von Bingen, yet her legacy is oddly still felt today. A polymath in the truest sense, a philosopher, a writer, a scientist, a preacher, and even invented a language, lingua ignota. Most of all, she was a composer of music too. A surprising amount of her works, music and lyrics, still survive. Quite rare considering she lived during the medieval period. If you were raised Catholic and regularly went to Sunday Mass, you've grown bored of her works. But Larum, consisting of Micah Frank and Czech Dosas, breathes new life into her compositions, each interpolation filled to the brim with textures as Dosas' saxophone cuts through the ambient electronics. And joined with free improvisation giants Bill Orcutt and Ok Yoon Lee, they explore her music in ways we've never seen before. Danny Brown has reinvented himself in a way which is completely untraditional for rappers, especially those from his generation. Yet, joined by a who's who of Gen Z's finest producers and singers, he has not only completely changed his sound and style, but it feels like a new chapter for one of hip-hop's visionaries. Which shouldn't be too surprising as this was Brown's first album created completely sober, an achievement he's proud of as he proclaims a new purpose in life at the opening of the record. This album feels like the celebration of stepping into a new part of your life. A part filled with optimism for the future and blanketed with the sounds of hyperpop, one which has you both celebrating and healing from the wounds after years of damage. Under no circumstance could I ever go home. It's the bleary sidewalk cigarette smoking outside the club. It's the vomit slowly dripping down from the concrete curb onto the asphalt road. It's the key bumps in the toilet. It's the 7th Long Island iced tea in the span of 2 hours. It's the hazy rummaging of drink refrigerator shelves during an inebriated stumble to the convenience store. It's the back-to-back all-nighters filled with deafening club music with sweating bodies hopping from club to club. It's now Saturday morning, go back home, and it's time to repeat. On Hexed, Aya carves out an album filled with vivid stories of chaotic drug-addled nights out, ones which teeter between panic attacks and the freedom of letting go of everything. All of this she wraps in a blanket of industrial drones and synths, intense drum breaks, and vocals which sounds like it's drowning in its own chaotic spiral. The Next has always been one of jazz's most electric trios, despite making music which straddles between ambient, minimalism, and jazz, the slowest blends of music imaginable. The brand of improvisation is slow and pensive, one which doesn't feel rushed to reach a conclusion but rather calmly falls into one. On this quiet, they've made their most exciting album in a very long time. Across 4 pieces, they show off everything they have, each song filled to the brim with warm and colorful sonic textures, with each second a shift in sound being discovered. Throughout their near 4 decades as a band, they've always reveled in improvisation and allowed songs to evolve naturally. On this record, they've outdone themselves. It sounds like veterans who has truly honed their craft for so long and finally reached their peak. This quiet is unlike anything you will have ever heard, but once you listen to it, you'll understand why they've been labeled one of Australia's greatest cult bands. Following up a record like Ants From Up There is a tough task. Even tougher is when your singer departs just after its release. But as the years goes on since their sophomore, Black Country New Road has proven they can move on, although it's hard to say they're the same band. The once post-punk / rock band has completely pivoted away after years of touring and tweaks to their songs, fully embracing the sounds of Baroque, folk, prog rock, and pop in forever how long. It's fun, colorful, and jaunty, undoubtedly their most intricate outing to date, but just under the bright instrumentals hide a raft of heartbreaking lyrics sung by Hyde, Ellery, and Kershaw. It's a warm album, but not the same bittersweet, lovelorn warmth of Ants from Up There. Rather, it's the warmth of seeing an old friend and immediately throwing loving insults at each other like nothing has changed. Pat Thomas is the master of live jazz. His piano swings wildly from delicate phrases to wild staccato stabs in a blink. He moves from cumbia-esque melodies to beating the keys like he's playing the drums. And when joined with one of free jazz's most exciting percussionists, Hamid Drake, who treats it less like a rhythm instrument and more like a guitar, it's a match made in heaven. On a cold October night in Shenzhen, China, the two came together for an intense performance. Both maestros shoot back at each other again and again. As Thomas plays a stab, Drake responds in kind. When Drake plays a swing beat, Thomas responds with a twisted version of a bebop intro. Never has an album title been more apt. This record sounds like two giants in jazz facing off against each other in a friendly bout, sounding like they're pumping their chests at each other as to who can play it crazier, making an intimate connection which only the realm of free improvisation could bring. For a band with only 3 members, the number of instruments utilized across the album is stunning. Even more so is how global it is. From a balafon from West Africa, a Persian gaichak, a Mongolian morinkur, and a good old American banjo. From the get-go, Shirom's outlook of folk music was one which eschewed its localized nature, rather making folk music which sounds like it could come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. There are no borders to folk for the band. Rather, it's an avenue to explore soundscapes which feels both alien in its composition, but homely in its atmosphere at the same time. From its very first seconds, we're already transported to an ambiguous land far away which sounds unlike anything you have ever heard. Each song is hypnotic, layered, and dramatic. Each little shift and instrument catches your ear as the album ebbs and flows from one idea to another. This is international music in the truest sense. It crosses cultural boundaries in a way no other band has ever done. You can label them however you want. They're Slovenian, they're folk, they're experimental, but Shirom is nothing short of genius. If you're like me, a Gen Zer who grew up listening to EDM and Nightcore remixes thinking you were hot shit, hearing I Love My Computer felt like unlocking memories you buried deep down from the utter embarrassment that was grade 9. This album is all of the 2010s EDM tropes executed tastefully, which you'd think is impossible, except it somehow isn't. From the big booming drum kicks, the glitchy synths, the ear candy hooks, and the dubstep bass drop wubs, all wrapped in a layer of modern hyperpop. But most importantly, it portrays the love we have for our phones and computers in a way no other record has in the 21st century. Who else in our lives do we interact with and spill all our secrets to regularly than our tech? At this point, why not fuck your computer? Asked Nina Girachi. It's most likely the closest relationship we have in our lives. The rise of Asuf proves that West Africans are the few keeping rock and roll's rambunctious spirit alive, but let's not forget their Eastern brethren, because Sapiki is nothing but pure joy and energy wrapped in a blanket of breakneck rhythms. Recorded by Maxime Bobo, this compilation is what it says on the tin. It's an hour-long survey into the rich musical landscape of southwest Madagascar Sapiki. Across the album, the music presented is nothing short of exciting. Percussionists bang their drums at insane speeds as walls of fuzzy guitars and vocals clash over it, all playing on what sounds like cobbled together amplifiers and megaphones. Even when no electric guitars are present, songs still feel noisy and fun, proving that even though most of the instruments featured were patched together and ramshackled by its musicians, they can still produce songs of the highest quality. Sapiki is dance music in its purest form. It's made by the common people and is for everybody to enjoy and dance to. From front to back across the comp, there isn't a song which won't have you shaking your leg to the rhythm. Ever since the invention of the modern piano, there has been no shortage of musicians who sought to push it to its extreme. First, it was the self-playing piano in the late 19th century, then in the 20th century when John Cage started preparing pianos with nuts and bolts. Forenstemklaver, translating to for justly tuned piano from Norwegian, takes modifications to a piano to the extreme, choosing to record the microscopic sounds of its strings and sustain it for as long as possible. Using magnets which automatically vibrates its strings rather than strike it, Lisne unlocks a completely different side of a piano which nobody has ever heard before. This is playing a piano in a way no human can ever do, only possible by pushing the instrument to its absolute limits. This record is ambient experimentation at its finest. It's never about the macro, but the micro details of sound. It's the noises which we ignore that he refuses to forget, and presented in all its beauty. And in 6 brief pieces, he shows off just what a piano is capable of.
Alberto Giuscamaita-Gastelu, better known as Raktako, was the last of his kind when he died in 2023, well past the age of 100. He left behind a legacy, although hyperlocal, profoundly affected the people who heard his songs. Residing in Ayacucho in the Peruvian Andes, he kept the musical traditions of his home and the Andean guitar alive in the face of a rapidly modernizing world, however, for the most part, worked in obscurity. In 2022, his last disciple, Gustavo Yashimura Acre, shared a collection of home recordings made between 1930 and 1940. The quality is scratchy, doubtful they even had access to decent microphones, let alone good shellac discs to record on. And finally in 2025, we get to hear it. What has been presented is nothing short of breathtaking. Across this brief 28 minutes, we meet Raktako in his prime. His guitar is warm. He plucks and strums it with so much heart it feels like it's cutting through your soul. This part of history is not lost. It's thanks to the generations of guitarists he mentored in Ayacucho that his legacy lives on, and we should count ourselves lucky we're able to hear a glimpse of this maestro. Pulling up the turnips. Stories of gardening in an allotment, of going to a friend's wedding party, a school bully being expelled, and shopping around Boxing Day. Richard Dawson does something many storytellers struggle to do, finding the drama in the mundanity of everyday life. To the singer-songwriter, these moments, which on its surface may seem like a nothing burger, are turned into tales about the tragedy of the human condition in gory detail. How tending the community allotment reminds you of the ailing woman who used to care for it, the crushing weight of depression and the manic episode a kitschy wedding brought on, the existential dread realizing you're living a life full of regrets and daydreaming a holiday to Venice which you've always wanted to go on, of moving past the generational trauma you were supposed to inherit from your parents and becoming better than them. Richard Dawson is not just a singer. He's an anthropologist orating stories of what being a human truly entails, and End of the Middle is his most crushing collection to date. University took its name as a satirical jab as they saw their friends leave town for higher education. The trio, rather than escaping their small town of crew and growing up, stuck together as a band, and their debut album, McCartney It'll Be Okay, reflects it. A dizzying chimera of post-punk, hardcore, and noisy math rock was all brought together and produced by an unlikely figure. Quest Darko, known more for his work with Slow Tie, took the helm when it came to assembling this riotous band's record, and the result is this year's most electrifying album. The LP opens on a phone call as a group of kids start screaming into the mic as it's abruptly hung up. Immediately, we are thrown into a noisy flurry of math and hardcore guitars and drums as vocalist Zach Bowker proclaims he'll never die. This record is the soundtrack to holding on to your fleeting youth which you see slipping away from you. It's the truncheon and thwack on hyperactive skulls, it's sticking your head out the car window while going 100 down the highway, it's the rowdy celebrations, drinking, puking, and fucking about with friends as if there isn't a tomorrow. It's my favorite album of 2025. And that's that. Thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed the video, do leave a like and subscribe, or don't, I can't force you. If you want to support the channel, I have a Ko-fi page where you can donate, and I have a second channel where I upload music mixes, so if you want to hear what I've been listening to, you can subscribe to it. I also have an Instagram and a Twitter, so if you want to keep up with whatever I'm doing, you can follow me there. So yeah, I'll see you all around.